What's up guys, if you're new to the channel, my name's Jay. We finally made it. This is a video that seems like it's taken forever just for me to get to this certain point. We got my $10,000 stock portfolio video. And I wasn't gonna say $9,000 because that just wouldn't have seemed right. Anyways, I'm gonna be telling you guys what stocks I own, why I own them, how many, and basically just all the details. First, I just want to let my plan be known that my goal is to double my net worth every single year for as long as I possibly can. Now, I realize that this might seem like a very ambitious goal, but I started off the year with literally nothing in the bank. Now I have $10,000, so it just goes to show that anyone can do it. You just have to take advantage of the opportunities that are put in front of you. Now we can get started with the first stock in my stock portfolio. Actually, before I get started, I'm going to be going over each stock in the order of how big of a percentage they take in my portfolio, with the biggest stock in the portfolio being the last stock. I thought that was just worth the mention before we get started, but now we can actually get started. Actually, wait, there is one more thing. I got you there, didn't I?
What is wrong with you?
Okay, but seriously, I've been dragging this out. The first stock in my portfolio is Lemonade stock, ticker symbol LMND. Now, this is by far and away the most speculative stock in my portfolio, but I truly believe that this company has a bright future ahead of them. This is actually the smallest position in my portfolio, where I only have 4 shares at a price of $61 a share. The goal is for it to make about 10 to 15% of my portfolio if I don't add any more stocks, but right now it only makes about 2.5% of my portfolio. The thing is, I try and invest in more innovative companies, which is kind of a hint towards the rest of the companies that I'm invested in, if any of you guys are trying to guess which ones they are. But other than the fact that Lemonade has innovation and creativity at their core, I also love their CEO, Daniel Schreiber, which I always say wrong. Unlike someone else, instead of pulling $70 million from a stock after their IPO to buy a new mansion, he's more focused on their stock where it will be 5, 10, 20 years down the line. And that's the same way I look at my portfolio and would hope that a lot of other people do. If you follow Tesla stock, then you probably know who I'm talking about. But he also does give me Jeff Bezos vibes. It's kind of weird, not gonna lie. But the next stock on this list is Microsoft. Now, this is one of the stocks that I actually wish I had bought more of. I only have 3.005 shares, and I would actually buy more if it were to drop down to like say 190. So that's me basically saying that I'm not going to be buying this stock anytime soon. I just really don't think that it'll drop that far, but it makes about 6% of my portfolio, so it really might stay at those 3 shares in the portfolio. We'll just have to see. I also have my dividends that get reinvested into the stock, but those really aren't significant. You probably could tell by the 0.005 shares. The reason that I think it won't drop to even 190 is because Microsoft's proven to Wall Street that their business is so strong that they probably wouldn't even be affected by another shutdown by the Rona. In fact, it might actually help them, as bad as that may sound, because if we do shut down again in November or December, they have their new Xbox coming out, so that could not only help increase their sales for the Xbox itself, but for features and subscription services within the Xbox. And the thing is that Microsoft actually makes up such a big part of the S&P 500 index compared to like other companies that it actually helps the stock become more stable and less susceptible to big swings up and down. But the growth Microsoft still comes out with every year for a $1.5 trillion company is just bonkers. Like, this is a stock that I plan to hold for a very, very long time. Next up, we got S-Bucks. Now, this is more of like a dividend stability type of play, kind of like a Microsoft, but they give a 2% dividend for the year, along with the company making up 9% of my portfolio, which is exactly 12 shares worth $931. I see Starbucks as one of those companies that's still growing more than someone like McDonald's for sure. And you can see this through their growth in China, especially now that Luckin Coffee is in some deep-ish, with the company coming out with fabricated revenues of $310 million. But they are still unfortunately running, so it's not gonna be the end of the world. But I don't see people's addiction to coffee going anywhere in the near future. So my plan with this stock is just as it grows to reinvest my dividends into the stock and just let it compound from there, as I continue to add shares on top of that, of course. I think that Starbucks has its worst days behind them too, with news that they took over a $3 billion loss in revenues, and their stock's been consolidating for a while now, but I think that Wall Street classifies them as more of a recovery stock than a tech stock, which seems a lot more understandable. Moving on to the next stock though, we got Nvidia, where I have 2 shares that make up almost $1,000 in my $10,000 portfolio. And notice how the last 3 stocks actually don't even make up for a third of my portfolio. I just thought that you guys should notice that, but we'll get back to it later. But Nvidia, like Microsoft, is another one of those companies that I wish I had bought more of, but there's a chance that I'll actually be buying more Nvidia sometime in the future. After all, I do think that this could be an $1,000 stock in the future, so that just would still be a double up of my money. And that's compared to a $1.5 trillion company like Microsoft, where the chances of me doubling my money are going to be a lot slimmer than someone like Nvidia, who hasn't even reached $500 billion in market cap. Nvidia is actually one of the biggest growth stocks in this portfolio, and I feel like now that the stocks ran up a good amount, more people are starting to realize the growth ahead for the company. Although they're down currently after hours, they reported earnings, and they're actually pretty good earnings, and I'm going to have to go ahead and take a listen to that earnings call to see what's up. Moving on to the top 2 stocks in this portfolio, which make up 2/3 of my whole portfolio. The second to last one is Square with 18 shares, where I have $2,700 in the stock at a cost basis of $102. Now, Square is one of those companies that I think could be $200 by the end of this year. But at the same time, I think that Square someday, I'm not saying today or tomorrow or even 4 or 5 years down the line, but someday, I'm saying that could be a $1,000 stock if they don't split and continue innovating the way they've been doing. Like, if you really think about it, Square's Cash App can literally do everything for you, from banking to sending money to friends to investing in stocks and Bitcoin. And I bet they have many more ideas that a lot of people aren't even thinking about that they could do and implement into their app. And now that they acquired Verse, the Spanish payment company, that'll make the adoption of Cash App so much easier in Europe. The one thing I want to know is how they'll benefit big from offering Bitcoin, because I know that it brings in a lot, and I'm talking about a lot of revenue for them, but the profit margins on it are so small that it kind of makes it seem almost useless just to offer it. The only thing it shows to me is how big of a supporter Jack Dorsey is of Bitcoin. Other than that, I love everything about the company. The last stock in this portfolio is good old Tesla. Now, this stock has really been the backbone of my portfolio, and it makes up over 40% of it, and I only have 2.25 shares. And the thing is, I put more into Square than I have into Tesla, but I actually just recently bought more Square in the $139 to $142 range, so that's not really a fair comparison. But the stock has made me almost a total of $2,500 as of today, which is still crazy to me that you could make that much money off stock with such a little amount of money. And I'm saying little to all these other big YouTubers showing off their $500,000 portfolio, but we'll get there someday. When it comes down to Tesla, I still believe that nobody is catching them. All these automakers are just getting started with coming out with new EVs, where Tesla has been doing them and they've been making them and are improving rapidly. Not only the way they manufacture the cars, but the manufacturing assembly lines themselves. And Elon himself literally said that they can improve their lines by up to 10,000%. So imagine the work that companies like Ford and GM have to do. This is how Tesla saves money from not advertising, because their products are so good and the value that they provide for the costs are unmatched, to the point where when someone buys one, they show it off to their friend or their family, and it influences someone else to buy another one. But if you're talking about Tesla, you cannot forget about Mr. 420 Blazing himself, Elon Musk, who honestly made Tesla the company they are today. Like, if I'm gonna be honest, if we had someone like Kevin Johnson running the show at Tesla, they would not be the same company. No offense to Kevin. For those of you that don't know, Kevin Johnson's the CEO of Starbucks. But like I said, Elon just makes everyone around him feel like they're a part of something bigger, and they truly are. That's why Tesla will dominate and continue to bring in some of the top engineers, lawyers, auditors, accountants, and so on. Anyways, I could talk about Tesla all day, but I'll just leave it at that. Lastly, the total value of the portfolio comes down to a total of $10,328, which is a 64% gain, or $3,787 profit from the money that I put in myself. But that's it. If you made it this far, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It means so much. Also, don't forget to comment down below what stocks that you guys have. I'm actually kind of curious as to know what you guys have as for stocks in your portfolio. Me, myself, I try and be a sniper with the stocks that I pick, where I find those specific stocks that could double to 10x my money in the next 5 to 10 years. But with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Bye.